Okay, we're looking at Sefer Ha-Aggadah, page 54 of volume 1. And now we're speaking about the Yetziat Mitzrayim, the Exodus. It's a famous midrash, widely quoted, Bizchut Arba'at Dvarim Nigalu Yisrael Mitzrayim, that Bnei Israel were redeemed, were able to get out of Egypt because of 4 things. Now other midrashim say 3 things. If you put them all together, then you come to 5, which each one has a different version. But this is what this specific midrash, which is Shoher Tov and Yalkut Shimoni, which is a later midrash, says this: Lo shinu et shmam, lo shinu et leshonam, lo gilu mistorin shelahem, velo bitlu et hamila.
The third one, what?
The third one, lo gilu mistorin shelahem. I'll explain. Shelo shinu et shmam, they did not change their names. Lo shinu et leshonam, they did not change their language. Lo gilu mistorin shelahem, they did not reveal their secrets. Velo bitelu et hamila, and they did not abandon the mitzvah of brit milah. So the last 2 are already problematic because we know that they had to do brit milah in either before Yetziat Mitzrayim they did brit milah, and then in the desert they didn't do brit milah for 40 years, as we read in the first chapter of Yoshua. כי מולים היו כל העם היוצאים ממצרים, כל העם נולדים בדרך לא מעלו. All those who came out of Egypt were circumcised because they did it just for the Pesach, before they celebrated the first Pesach. וכל העם הנולדים בדרך לא מעלו. But those who were born on the way were not circumcised. So how can you say that this was the great merit that they did the Brit Milah, if right after that they didn't do it, and also it seems that before that they didn't do it? So the commentator says that lo bitlu et hamila haksherim shebahem, some of them. So this is like I said, this is a late midrash, or the original midrash spoke about 3 things: name, language, and dress code. Lo shinu et levusham, they dressed in a particular way, and they did not change it. Later on, this is 9th, 10th, or even 12th century. The Yalkut Shimoni was written by Rabbi Shimon ad-Darshan of Frankfurt in Germany. So when he writes that in the 12th century, he already looks around him, he says one of the things that sets the Jews apart from the non-Jews is mistorin shelahem. We keep our own secrets. For many centuries, the non-Jews didn't even know that we have other books except for the Tanakh. They thought the only book that the Jews have is the Tanakh. They had no idea about the Talmud or oral law. And that was a well-kept secret of the Jews. And also, Brit Milah, of course, circumcision separated, distinguished between Jews and non-Jews in Europe. But if you go back to the original Midrash, the 3 things that are constantly mentioned are name, language, and dress code. And this Midrash is used always by the Orthodox or ultra-Orthodox educational system, and also by rabbis and preachers and speakers everywhere. They say, you see, the Jews in Egypt were redeemed only because they adhered to the way they dressed, the way they spoke, and their names. So, with that, they promote the idea that you cannot change your dress code. So, in the yeshiva world, everybody has to wear white shirts and a jacket and a hat, right? People ask, what is your Hebrew name? You must have a Hebrew name. And the language, you have to keep up the language. But what is the language that today rules the yeshiva world? I mean the Ashkenazi yeshiva world. It's Yiddish. And they say we have to keep our language because this is what our forefathers spoke in Europe before the Holocaust. So all these, when you come to analyze them one by one, they don't make sense. Even in America, the many leading yeshivot teach and learn in Yiddish. Yes. So the problem with this is this: if you want to say that the great merit of the Israelites in Egypt was that they adhered to the way they spoke, right? They had to speak the same language. Then we have to follow in their paths, in their pathways. We have to speak the same language that they spoke. So Hebrew is the language, not Yiddish, not English. Like if you want to say, how do you learn Torah? Only in Hebrew. the fact that how is it possible for the Jews, back then they were called Israelites, who lived in Egypt, they came with the Hebrew language, then they came out of Egypt, apparently still speaking Hebrew, because we read the pasuk Betzet Yisrael mi Mitzrayim Bet Yaakov me'am Lo'ez. When Am Yisrael left the place of Am Lo'ez, Lo'ez is speaking in a different language, but then they came to Eretz Yisrael, and after about 1,000 years they were speaking Aramaic. That we find in the book of Melachim and in the book of Yeshaya, when Rav Shakeh, who was the general of Sanheriv, who came to destroy Yerushalayim, speaks to the people inside the city. He besieged the city, and he wanted to break their morale. So he said, "Come out and surrender, and I will not harm you. But if you insist on fighting, I will destroy you." And which language did he speak? He spoke Aramaic. He spoke Aramaic, and
where do we learn that from? Which book in the Tanakh?
In Melachim. It's in Melachim. And they asked him. He says, "No, actually, he spoke in Hebrew. He spoke in Hebrew, and they asked him to speak in Aramaic. Ki shome'im anachnu velo Yehudit. They already, right? They were already speakers of Aramaic. Everybody spoke Aramaic. Later on, when they went to Babel, they all spoke Aramaic. The book of Daniel written in Aramaic. So we definitely see that there were changes throughout history. Wherever Jews went, they picked up the local language, and Yiddish was one such language that they picked when they lived in Germany. It's a mix of the German language and some German construct with Hebrew. The same as Ladino, which was called Judismo, was a mix of Spanish and Hebrew, and Hakatiya and the Iraqi Jewish Arabic. Everywhere we went, rabbi-ovadia, right? Everywhere we went, we used the local language, and usually Jews were polyglots. They spoke more than one or two, usually three languages. But we don't find anywhere among, if you go maybe back 100 years, that people said you must adhere to the Hebrew, which is the original language. That's one thing. Then we have the issue of names. When you say that they kept their names, if they kept their Hebrew names, then we would have had to find today only the names that are mentioned up to Yetziat Mitzrayim. Avraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda. Each generation that comes with new names. And then when you come to the time of the Mishnah and the Talmud, there's a flood of Greek and Latin names for rabbis. We're not just talking about, if you say, the lay people, they call their names, their children by Greek names. We have names of rabbi. There's a rabbi called Rabbi Alexander, Alexandri, Avtalion, right? We have Marinus, Rabbi Marinus, Rabbi Simon. It's like all these names appear in the Gemara, and they had no problems with that. So when someone comes and says, "What is your Hebrew name?" and if you say Albert, it's good. It's a Hebrew name. It's not a non-Hebrew name, because there were many Jews throughout history. They were called Albert and Victor and Gilbert, or in the Ashkenazi world, Sender and Henich and Fable and Velvel. So all these names, there's nothing that makes them more Jewish or less Jewish than other names. Same with the dress code. That if the yeshiva world today dresses in a certain way, it's not the way they dressed in the past. Not 100 years ago, not 200 years ago. Every 100 years or so, the fashion changes. And if we really wanted to follow the way our forefathers dressed, we should all walk around with jalabiyas, right? With robes.
Yeshiva word from Christianity?
No, it's not Christianity. The yeshiva world got stuck in pre-Holocaust mentality. Just before the Holocaust, some yeshivot in Europe, only some yeshivot in Europe, pushed the idea of like a uniform and dignified dress code. Before that, people, the yeshiva boys were what you call today schleppers. They would, whatever. They didn't have much money, and they were also taught that you shouldn't care about how you look. You shouldn't care about materialistic things. So it's okay to walk around with a mishmash of clothes. And some of the Rashi Yeshivot, especially Rav Simcha Zissel Ziv of Kelm and Dov Hardok, some of those Yeshivot, said you must, in order to feel that the Torah is important, you have to look important. So they promoted wearing a jacket, wearing a hat, because everybody wore a hat. Back then, to wear a hat was considered like the height of fashion. That's why they did that. But then, after the 50s here in America, people don't wear hats anymore. It's the yeshiva world that sustains the hat industry, because otherwise nobody would buy those black hats.
But why they changed their name? Because it was a war and they want to hide?
No, because over time.
They did after the Holocaust?
No, the
What
name
happened? The rabbi, he asked me, he said, what's the name of your wife? I said, Maria. He said, no, Maria.
Right.
So suddenly he said, Miriam.
Miriam, right.
And so the mother, since she was born in 1949, right after the war,
Right.
she's scared to give her the
Right.
name.
Right.
Hebrew name.
Hebrew name.
Right. So that happened, that sometimes Jews had to hide their identity,
Exactly.
and they called them name. But in other places, it was just a common thing. They loved those names. They were good names. Fashion, yeah, it was also a question of fashion. You go around and you see, like in Galut in Sfarad, Don Vidal, Bonestruk,
But in Germany there was time that the German pushed, because everybody was
But only-
Simon ben.
Yeah, but that's only right. But that's only recently. But originally, German. Yes.
That's where
But the point is,
got stuck.
what?
That's where Golda got stuck.
Golda, yeah.
When she said,
You tell me in French it was
if
illegal,
you are not
illegal to
speaking,
give him a name. You have to give him a
Yiddish,
name
you are
of a
not a
saint.
Right.
Okay, so
Right. In France, right? You look at your birth date and then you choose the name. Right. In any case, the history of names is complicated. Is long. It's a long history. But the point is that when you put all of them together, you realize that the statement of the Midrash that to be redeemed of diaspora, you must stick to the same name, same language, same dress code, was not kept throughout history, right? And because it's impossible, wherever you go, you get used to the even with my children, I made sure that I think we did it that way, that my youngest children will have names that are easily pronounced by English speakers. Because my oldest is like Ariel, right? Here it's a girl's name. So everywhere, when he would go to the doctor, so they call Ariel, he comes up. Where's they're looking for the girl, right? Then my son Itamar, nobody knows how to pronounce the name. And so on. But my youngest one, Israel, and Sophia. It's good. There's Sophia in Hebrew, Sophia. So there's a question of convenience, but we don't have a rule book for names. I had one of my oldest daughter, Shiran, when we named her that, Shiran in Hebrew means singing a song. Now it's a very popular name in Israel. But when she was born 25 years ago, 26 years, it wasn't that popular. One of my relatives wasn't happy with the name. He rebuked me for that. So I said, what is the problem? He said, you should have given it a biblical name. So we wanted to go through the Bible. You look for Hebrew names in the Bible for women. You don't have that many. We use them all. Tzara, Rivka, Rachel, Veleah, Dinah, Hannah, Miriam, Abigail, Batsheva. Oh, that's it. You run out of them. There's many names in the Tanakh for women that nobody would have used today, like Hatzlel Poni. So nobody would use that. Or Hel'ah. There's a name to Hel'ah means in modern Hebrew means scum. Why do you use this? Even though it's a biblical name. Azuva. There's a name in the Tanakh. Azuva. Abandoned. Why would I call that name? So if I don't find a name in the Tanakh that I could relate to, why would I use it? But I gave him a different answer. I said, no, I did give a biblical name. He says, how come? I said, I searched through the Tanakh. I didn't find the name that you gave your daughter. I said, but the point is this. What was the practice of people in biblical times when they were about to give names? Where did they find names? No. They had to invent them. Because if they would only use the names in the Bible, you would always have the loop. Avraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Avraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Avraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov. Leah came up with the name Yehuda, she made it up. She says, I want to call him Yehuda because... So inventing a name, that's my answer what it was. Making up a new name is a biblical practice, so I'm following the biblical practice. So that was the end of it. Now they came to accept the name, it's okay. But the point is that what we have here is a statement in the Midrash that became a basis for an ideology which is misguided. What the Midrash meant to say is this. There was a certain cohesiveness of the Jews in Egypt. Before they left Egypt, before the Exodus, there was nothing else to put them together. Only their external elements. The fact that they all spoke the same language, they all had more or less similar names, and they all dressed in the same fashion. This is the glue that kept them together. Anyone who broke away from that mold eventually assimilated and got forgotten, and maybe was not even interested to leave Egypt in a certain way. And when the Exodus came, Mitzrayim, all these people were redeemed. But right after that came an event that changed everything, and that's Matan Torah. When the Torah was given to Am Yisrael on Har Sinai, we were given another way to connect. Now, sometimes, yes, we will have the same name, the same clothes, or the same language, but this is not the glue that keeps us together. It's the Torah. So what the rabbis were saying in the Midrash, up until Matan Torah in Mitzrayim, you needed those things. Only those things would help you survive. After Matan Torah, it's our tradition. And you can see it today. You travel from place to place in the world. You might come in, you might be a Sephardic Jew in an Ashkenazi synagogue, or an Ashkenazi Jew in a Sephardic synagogue. And you come in and you say, I'm Jewish, and they will say, funny, you don't look Jewish. But then you start talking about the Torah, this you put on your tefillin, you say, oh, you're one of us. This is what keeps us together. So it's eventually the Torah that keeps us together as one unity, and all the other things are nice, but they're not of the highest order of importance. We'll stop here.